you know what? I'll just say this. The grocery store gonna get mad at me if I complain about the carts not being returned.
Wait, what?
Like if I come on the podcast and complain about something or talk about something,
Yeah.
am I supposed to talk about no people, places, or things while I'm here?
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
Hello everyone, how are you today? I hope you're having a really good day so far. If you are new here, my name is Taylor. I come to you from Baltimore City, Maryland, and here on my YouTube channel I feature content that is generally focused on knitting and spinning. Hello Star Baby, Moonchild, how are you today? Anyway, I'm here. And here you are, and together we generally talk about the subjects of knitting and spinning. However, in this week's episode we're going to do a lot of gardening together. I have let it go. The garden is chaos, as it typically is this time of year. It has been very cool this spring season. Now that we're officially in summer, the temperatures are warming up slightly and we finally have rain again. It was very dry for a while, and so some of my container plants are burnt to a crisp, even though the weather's been cool. The few hours of direct sun they get when it's dry have really taken a toll. So I have some things that I do need to deal with. There's plants that I want to relocate. Well, you'll see, but I do have a few bulbs, more than a few bulbs, that I want to move. Typically I would wait until fall, but there is one space that I really want to retool right now, and it is the area in front of my bird bath. We have on either side of the bird bath red raspberries, blackberries, and black raspberries, and so those areas have really been popping off. They are either fully fruited and sort of done for the season. The blackberries are ripening right now, but those areas are generally what they are and what they'll continue to be forever. But the space between them in front of the bird bath, I have continually placed this and that, different plants that I didn't have another space for. And it doesn't get a lot of direct sun. It gets some sun, but a few hours in the very middle of the day, late morning. So we're going to tear a lot of that out, and anything that I can move to another place, I will. And I'm going to retool that space. So I'm gonna get dirty today out in the garden, and then fingers crossed I have the time and energy to flip the compost so that I can spread compost in the new area I just cleared out. I know I've also planted several perennials in that space that have not been able to thrive because of the intense overgrowth of various different things. There's random tomato plants that I noticed growing that don't need to grow there because they're probably never going to fruit. The fruit will never ripen and they won't have any support. So there's just a bunch to kind of deal with, compost, relocate, and over time my bird bath has had the soil around it really built up well, and so I need to pull the top of the bird bath off if I can and reestablish the base of it so that it's above the ground, because it's almost buried beneath it at this point. So I hope to take you on that journey of doing stuff in the garden. But that's really all I have to offer this week. I've not been knitting a whole lot. I've made some progress on the pattern I've been working on. I have not blocked this yet, but this is the top side of the front panel. And I just picked up and finished the welt of the bottom. All I need to do is the chart again and bind off that, and then I'll be able to pick up stitches for the right and left sides. I think probably have to knit the back panel as well. I haven't really read ahead, but that's where I'm at right now on my current knitting project. I have had a bit of back pain, so I kind of just go to bed at the end of the day and rest. So that's that. Welcome to this week's garden tour. It is a humid day here in Baltimore City, and I have a lot to do in the backyard garden. You can see that my nasturtiums are holding on, and I think the stress of this weather has brought them all to seed, which is really exciting. You can see these little seed pods here. I'm just waiting for them to ripen up or whatever they do, and then I will harvest those seeds. My strawberries are cooked. I don't know that they're gonna make it. I don't see any new growth in the crowns, but I think that there's some hope still. And there's a lot happening here. So the echinacea is thriving. It's never been this happy before. And I don't hate the location of it. I think it might stay, but I'm open to moving it around here and there. I think that the peach tree is letting me know that it needs a little bit more space than I have allocated for it. It has gotten so big this season. It's almost twice as big as it was last summer when I planted it. And I expect it'll get a little bit taller than this still. I think it's a dwarf variety, so it shouldn't reach more than, I think, 12 feet. I will prune it back heavily, as I did in the fall of this past year. But anyway, it is huge, and I expect we'll get some real fruit next year. There's some fruit on some of the old growth here and there. There's this one branch that's like hanging very low. I might cover these fruits up with some netting before too soon. But as you can see, there's a bunch of stuff growing underneath here that I think I might have to play with. Oh, look at my pepper. This one jalapeno. The peppers in my backyard garden usually put on the most fruit at the end of summer. But wow, I didn't even see that my blueberries bounced back. It had gotten so dry that many of the blueberries had shriveled up, and I thought there was no hope, but it looks like we're gonna get some blueberries this summer. Yum yum delicioso. Oh, but you might already have seen that I have a Rudbeckia, little black-eyed Susan, that kind of found its way among the pink echinacea. When I relocated those, it was amongst them, and I hadn't noticed until it had grown up. And although I am getting some pretty flowers from it, the Rudbeckia is prone to mildew, like a powdery mildew, so it's not really appealing for cut flowers, and it's very prone to aphids. So I do want to cut this out today, even though it is about to flower, which is really sad. It's not really nice to look at, and I don't know, I'm not sure. I think I'm going to cut it back, and then I'm going to relocate what I can, if at all, to just another area where maybe it gets a little bit more airflow. You can see the same thing is really going on with the brown-eyed Susan behind that echinacea. I might leave that there since it is in full bloom. Hopefully it can provide some pollen to pollinators, which I have not seen a lot of. But I'm going to relocate that as well. I don't feel like this is the ideal spot for it, given the fact that it is prone to powdery mildew. It might do better in the front yard garden, where it gets that hot afternoon sun that's gonna really dry up the plants. So there's also this white echinacea here, which I would like ideally to be planted in front of the pink echinacea because they do grow so tall. So it might be that in the fall I really take care of that bed more. This is not the space I intend to really work in today, but I do have plans for it. I'm going to pop that curly heuchera out. There's one on each side. And then the purple heuchera, I'm going to pop that out as well. And I'm going to extend this light colored one to the ends later on in the fall once things start to kind of wind down. The Elecampane plant has completely blown up. It is just exploding out of the ground. It's been a lot of fun. It's as tall as my sunflower, which I think you might be able to see right there in the middle. And the flowers have been really fun to look at from the second floor. But this is another plant that I think in the late summer, fall, I'm gonna cut back, dig up, split, and relocate into a space in the neighbor's yard. Wow, there's a spider. Do you see that spider? Fun. Okay, so what else? We have some oregano that has gone to seed. I'm gonna cut this back as well. This is a pile of bulbs. I forget what kind. I think it was like a snow bell or something like that. I'm not sure. That I'm going to dig up and relocate as well. These tomatoes have already been putting on fruit, so I'm kind of just going to leave them and see what happens. But there's two in close proximity to one another, as well as my cucumbers, which I think are still going to do fine, even with all of this competition. This is the space I intend to work on today. So I'm going to compost all of the daffodil foliage that's died back finally. I'm going to dig them up, and then I'm going to work my way back. I'm going to relocate that shade-loving succulent I don't know the name of. I'm going to weed, and I'm going to cut back the black-eyed Susans that are not doing well. There is some salvia that I'm going to cut back and potentially relocate. There are hostas that I will dig up and relocate. There are also a few raspberry canes that have already died back. I'm going to cut those out after removing any fruits still there. And I'm going to train the raspberry canes out of the bird bath because nobody wants that. I do need to, I wonder if it still exists. I need to see if I had a plant back here that I was really excited about. I wonder if it made it. I did have a hydrangea planted right here that I was really hoping would come back. It looks like it did put on some new growth, but that died. So I'm gonna dig out that, and we're just gonna try to clean this mess up. Don't know what I'm gonna do with all of this, but it's not my favorite. It's just kind of there. So got a lot of this. I got this plant for free last summer, and I tucked it over in this space I didn't really know what to do with, and I've just let it continue to grow. I think I might consider putting it under the redbud in the front yard, if anywhere. But there are a bunch of little black-eyed Susan seedlings I might relocate as well into the front yard garden or the neighbor's garden, just to give them a chance to grow. But there's just more than needs to be here. I got rained out of the garden work, but you can see I cleared some of that bed. So maybe tomorrow I might actually flip the compost. I think it's gonna rain still, so all of this might have to wait until next weekend, but that'll give me some time to think more about what I intend to do. That is it for this week's episode of the Thread to Men podcast. If you made it this far into this week's video, let me know below with the sunflower emoji. And if you haven't found me on social media, my name is Taylor E. Owen on Ravelry and Instagram. You can find me over on TikTok as Taylor Knits. I hope you all have a wonderful day and a wonderful week, and that you take care. Do you want to see something so funny? This nasturtium plant here is growing through the blueberry, which is like fine, whatever. But I'm noticing that it's trailed all the way over here, and this leaf is hugging the cattle panel. Like it just looped right around it and connected itself. I didn't realize nasturtiums are such a viney plant. Usually they're just like kind of grow in a nice big bunch, but this thing is reaching. I wonder if I can get it to grow up the cattle panel, you know? Anyway, that's it.